Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This video is about my thoughts on like Marvel and everything that's come out this year. So this year is like the start of Phase 4 since last year we couldn't really have any Marvel stuff because of the global bastard. Um, so it started with WandaVision at the beginning of this year in January, and I actually liked the show. I thought it had ups and downs, but I was really positive to it. Uh, if you don't know, WandaVision is about the characters of Wanda Maximoff and Vision, who are in this town, trapped in they're trapped in, not really trapped in this town, but they live in this suburb type area, and different things are happening. They're placed in different time periods where they're in these like different comedy shows and stuff, or different comedy shows, and you know, uh, they get wrapped around, and the whole thing is a whole mystery, and I think that gives the whole MCU a fresh new taste, because the show is very, it has a lot of mystery and intrigue to it, so that you're watching it and you have a whole lot of uh, you're trying to find out what's happening. So my thoughts on it are like, I liked it, but there were some things that kind of held it back for me, that didn't make it like as memorable as the other shows I might talk to you about, um, such as like how they played up certain stuff, how they um, you know paid things off. So they would introduce a certain element like halfway through the show, but then, and you have so much hype and hype and anticipation for how this is going to pay off. Maybe it's going to go in this direction or this direction, but that never pans out. It goes in like a different way, if you understand what I mean. And okay, let me say this. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to talk and give you my thoughts on it, so that it doesn't really pay out. It doesn't, so you can actually watch, without being spoiled. There's a certain thing that happens, and it, you get so much hype if you've watched a lot of the Marvel stuff, like the wider stuff. But then it doesn't really pay off. It pays off in a joke of some sort, so that so you kind of like lose the interest and all that payoff and all that anticipation of watching episode on like a weekly basis, because with Marvel they would release it once a week, compared to like the whole Netflix idea of releasing things, um, everything once, so that you get anticipation and you come back and you watch. Um, I liked the character work in WandaVision. I love the acting. I thought the characters of Wanda, Vision, um, those characters, their neighbor was really good. They were really well acted. Especially, okay, what that was really good, and I kind of enjoyed it. They were The chemistry and everything was really good. The character of Monica Rambeau was actually really cool also, because she was in Captain Marvel, if you've seen the movie, but she is much older now, and she is a Shield agent, if I'm not mistaken. Shield or Sword agent, sorry, because that also got introduced. Um, and you see how her character develops in the show, and you see a lot of how she interacts, and she has some sort of understanding with Wanda, and how that pays off. Um, what led, yeah, that was one thing that was really positive for me. Another thing that I actually liked was like the whole costume design, the whole feel about it, because it had different elements of different shows from different eras, different sitcoms from different eras. Most of these I didn't watch because I'm only 19, but I have seen some of them, and you can see some of the influences if you've seen like the Easter eggs and stuff from the show. So that was That was really good, and it might make you want to watch those shows or see where it comes from. So you get that that kind of idea of where it's deriving some of its influences from like the intro to like how it ends to the whole structure, even how it's filmed. Some shows will be filmed like a 70s show or a show from back in the day, like a 90s show or something like that. It will have the whole feel, it's exactly from that show, but it has characters from the Marvel universe. It'll have your Wanda, your Vision, and the other characters around them. That makes it feel like an actual sitcom. Um, I feel like the best parts of the show were in the sitcom and not really the stuff that is happening around it. You'll understand when you watch the show, but the other stuff that is in the sitcom where it doesn't really focus on Wanda or Vision, that part kind of it strays the show a bit and it leaves it a bit thin, where your interest is kind of lacking, particularly with the characters all in that outside section. But all in all, Wanda was a pretty good start to Marvel Phase 4. It gave it a pretty different shake up since it was the first MCU show. It was the first show that we actually got. It was the first show that we actually got, and the first bit of things that we got in the MCU for Phase 4. The second one I would like to talk about is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this is I can't say it's like anything new because we've seen this before in the movies, particularly the Captain America movies. And these characters from Falcon and the Winter Soldier are from that series of movies. And this follows Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, living in a post Captain America world, and yeah, everything just turns sideways. Not really sideways, but things just go to hell with the new Captain America being introduced. I liked the whole intrigue of this new Captain America, how he wasn't he tried to act like Steve, but he's not Captain America. He's not Steve Rogers. He's just a guy that was put in place by the government to be Captain America since certain things happened. And okay, I'm just gonna say it because I think it's really evident if you've seen Endgame. But Sam got given the shield at the end of Endgame, and here he rejected it. He didn't want to become Captain America. So the government decided to take the shield and give it to the new Captain America. I will find his name. But the new Captain America. And I genuinely like the show again, but my problems are always there's always problems with these shows, particularly here with the villains. I don't think the villains paid off as much as I wanted them to. I thought they were pretty lackluster. They didn't add too much to the show. They provided some sort of like depth, some sort of depth, but it didn't really go as far as I wanted it to go. But I thought if they had better characters that were like the villains, I think it would have paid off even more. But I did like the character work between Sam, Bucky, and Zemo, who for me stole the show. I think he was like the highlight of the show. He provided a lot of the more entertaining parts because of his dynamic in the show and how he worked in with everything else. I don't know if it was me, but I feel like the show was a bit too woke in a sense, or it just added too many ideas and just threw them all into one place, and it just felt like it was too congested to tell like a singular story um, that was like a lot more coherent. I felt like there were certain parts, like if you watch the show and you would see, I felt like um, you would see that these parts of the show are like pushing narrative of social issues that we're facing now in the world. And by and large, I do want things like that in like in media, but then I don't want them. I want them placed in a way where you can actually relate to it, and not it being force fed to you in a sense, where it comes off more naturally than deserved. But I understand in a Captain America, TV show where this guy represents a whole country, you'd want to put things like themes like that so that it comes off as he's representing as a symbol, but it should have been played a bit more subtly, a bit more natural in a sense. I like the action scenes. I like the action scenes. I like the characters. I I liked how grounded it was. Sorry for rambling. It's just um, my first video, and I've just tried to get things in order. But back to the video, I liked a lot of the character work and how grounded these characters were. Like you can see them dealing with their problems from home, and not just them fighting this whole war or fight against like aliens and stuff. But you actually see that they have problems at home. Like you would see a character struggling with money or trying to get a loan, even though that the people that they're trying to get the loan from know who they are, and what they've done for like the whole world, the whole universe, exactly. Um, but yeah, in that sense, it is like pretty. It makes it more relatable than seeing these guys, these superheroes deal with large problems. Um, all in all, I do like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you would like me to uh, talk more about these shows in like depth, uh, leave like your comments about it, and I will do it because I have a lot of free time at this point, and I am willing to do a lot of these. The next show I would like to talk about is Loki, and that one is my favorite one. I think it was the one that is a lot more coherent in terms of it being a show with a lot of stakes and a lot of, not to say the other ones didn't have stake, but it had a lot of stake, it had a lot of heart in it. Um, Also, it felt like a Marvel show. It wasn't too grounded. It didn't focus on the small stuff. It was more large scale. It was more out there. Something that I wanted after Phase 4 to see more of. This show focuses on the Loki that was in, not the one that died in Endgame, but the one was that took the Tesseract at the end. Well, not at the end, but during Endgame. So the one from 2012, after the whole Avengers movie, and it focuses on him being a time variant, being captured by the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, and he's been brought in to help them deal against the threat that is going to damage the timeline. Uh, Another thing okay, so what again? The good thing with Marvel is that they are good with the character work. The characters of Owen Wilson, who plays Mr. He plays Mobius. Mobius, sorry. Uh, Mobius and Loki, they work really well together, and I feel like the show struggles in scenes that don't have those characters because they are really, really good. I thought that there's a certain female character in the show that also works a lot well with Loki, but like her decision at the end, if you've seen it, makes me so angry because no, I know how it's leaning towards, and like the build up towards it is like really really good, but sometimes in terms of the story she acted really recklessly, like despite her situation. I thought it was like the wrong way to go about it, but and I hope there's like a lot more consequences when it comes towards her decision and what it leads to. I liked the the whole idea of the time variance authority, that police there's this whole police of like a Men in Black type thing, but for the timeline, where you don't really know if these people are good or not. You see that they have a lot of good intentions, but there's a bit of darkness there. And as you go through the series, you find out that it's not as easy or as light as you would think. Um, I really like the whole setting and how the places that the show goes. Like it goes from the MCU to like a lot of different places in the MCU. Like it goes from the Avenger, well, it goes from like prehistoric times to the Avengers Tower to Asgard to these different places where you see these different sets and different planets and different universes and timelines. So yeah, and that was like really fun to see, even though it was actually really good. I have no complaints about that. Um, yeah, that was another one. I will make a video explaining like more in depth of what I actually liked. Um, if need be, hit me up in the comments if you want that. And then the next show, that's how I watched. The next show that I would talk about is, oh, it's not actually a show, it's the movie, Black Widow. So, Black Widow is a movie that I think should have been released long ago. I think after Civil War, it would have helped it then. But due to different delays and what happened in Endgame, I think that ruined the whole anticipation and idea of the show, of the movie. Sorry, but yeah, this was it was an okay movie. I liked the action scenes again. I liked the characters again. It was just that it came too late, and I think some of the parts again just felt like it didn't really stick as much for me as a movie. It wasn't the worst Marvel movie. It was, I think it was mid-level, to be honest. It didn't really have the stakes that it needed to, which I think would have been better if it had been a movie that was made pre-Endgame. And it would have helped, especially with how it leads into the future of Marvel and the MCU. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the other movie that was released this year, and that was Shang-Chi. And I think this was so much of a better movie that I anticipated. I thought it was just going to be a generic Marvel movie where it had your normal Marvel origin story where the hero fights another version of himself, jokes and everything. But then this one takes a different approach to it. It is a bit more. You don't know how you find out how this guy. It's more where this guy's already a developed character, and you see his backstory of how he got to that particular place. Like Shang-Chi is he's a person, he's a different person to what you see from when he was a child to him as a more grown-up person. He has a lot of history that you see throughout the movie. Um, you like the characters in the movie. You like the action scenes, which I think are probably the best action scenes in either a Marvel movie or TV series. The martial arts elements of it are really, really good, and how they blend into to like everything. So that was like an aspect that I really liked about it. Um, the villain, um, who was the Mandarin. We were supposed to have the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't an actual interpretation of the Mandarin. It was a more disappointing take on him in Iron Man 3, and I think he gets redeemed a lot more here because you see a lot like the Mandarin here is a badass. Like he he takes the cake. Like he is really, really good. Um, and you feel a lot more for him as a character also, which I think makes him an even better character. And he's one of my top five Marvel villains. Um, yeah, comment if you want a video on that. But yeah, Shang-Chi was a really good movie. I highly recommend it. It's a really good origin. It's one of the best ones I've seen from Marvel in a while. And yeah, and then the last one, the last Marvel show I'd like to talk about because Hawkeye comes out next week from when this video has been released, and I haven't seen Eternals yet. I'm getting ready to watch that soon enough. And yeah, there's Spider-Man at the end of the year, which I will definitely make a video about that specifically. The last show I want to talk about is What If. What If is Marvel's first animated show that focuses on what ifs exactly. What ifs from different scenarios, like what if um, T'Challa, Black Panther, had become Star Lord, or uh, what if there was a whole Marvel zombies type situation. Um, Certain episodes, it, I think that the show was a mixed bag, to be honest. Some episodes were really good, and then some episodes I didn't really like as much. And I think it differs with a lot of people based on like your preferences and what you like about Marvel, certain Marvel stuff. But I think the animation is really good. That is one thing that is undisputable about this. The voice work is also really good. Most of the Marvel people come back to voice themselves. Um, I thought that certain stories were interesting to a point, and I would love to see some of these characters like integrated into a movie of some sort because they are really good. And some of these episodes serve like a good farewell, especially episode 2, if I'm not mistaken. That was a really good send off for uh, Chadwick Boseman, who tragically passed away. It was a really good send off. It was paid tribute to him, and I think it was really good. All in all, I think that the Marvel shows, Marvel Phase 4 hasn't hit its stride yet, but I think it's going to pick up now with Spider-Man, and I haven't seen Eternals. I think, but people have been calling it a mixed bag, so I have to watch and see, and I need to watch Hawkeye to see. But all in all, Phase 4 should be okay. It hasn't had the highs, and it hasn't had as much of the lows that I've seen from Marvel previously, and I'm excited to see what's next. Uh, Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will make more videos. This is actually my first video, so my nerves are a bit there, but um, I should grow in confidence the more videos I make. And yes, thank you so much.